All right, let's talk about results lessons from the animals that trigger results and success in life. Quite a number of things to learn from animals, and they help us to be able to behave in a way that builds our success, right? So I'm going to be taking lessons from the features of these animals, and will adapt them to live realities, and then see how those behavioral characteristics and their natural features can enable us as human beings, because we are known as the higher animals, right? So it means that the resolution of our own thinking is higher than the resolution of their thinking. But there are certain amazing feats and results that they achieve that we can borrow sense from them, and then adapt, improve, innovate to be able to get similar stellar results in whatever we do, whether in our own life, whether in our relationship, whether in our career, whether in our business, whether in life generally, in how we relate with life and relate with our task, relate with our business, our opportunities, and the likes of them. So, in reality, these animals carry features that even to an extent, God uses the typology of an animal to illustrate a particular characteristics, or a particular principle or a concept in life, whether in organization and all that. So it's just normal, right? So let's quickly dive in and see the animals, and let's look at the lesson. Now, when I mention these animals, what exactly comes to your mind? Let's take, for instance, the lion, right? There are about 7 different animals I want to talk about, and we'll see how we can synthesize what their usefulness and their useful value is in our life, in our relationships, and the likes of them, and how we can get results. To a large extent, we all know that results have a voice. And without results, the existential value of a person is nearly zero, if not zero or negative, right? The moment you don't have results, and what you define as result, what is result to you might not be results to me. But there is the mental frame, or the general frame, the generally accepted frame of thinking about results, right? That if you don't have results in certain dimensions of your life, you find out that you just don't count. You're just part of the number, but you don't count, right? It's one thing to be part of the number, it's another thing to count, right? So it's not all sales that count, even though they increase your revenue, right? It's not all efforts that count, but they, to a large extent, they increase and improve your consistency, right? Good, right? So when we mention the lion, what comes to mind for you as a person, right? What comes to mind for you as a person? And when we mention the eagle, what comes to you as a person? When we mention the gazelle, what comes to you as a person? And then when we mention the serpent, what comes to you as a person? And then when we call the whale, right? Whale, what comes to you as a person? And then when we mention the giraffe, what comes to you as a person? And then when we mention the chameleon, or we mention the tortoise or the snail, what is it that comes to your mind? So, and how do these animals and their unique features help us to be able to or trigger certain success principles in life, in business, in career, and in human relations, right? So let's go right and jump right in this moment, right? Good. The lion. Now, what do you know the lion for? The lion is known for courage. It's known for what? Courage, for toughness, right? The lion is not as big as some certain animals that it devours. But there's a measure of fearlessness in the lion and confidence that commands the kind of result that he gets. Now, the lion is equally patient enough in its pursuit. Most of the time, if you're somebody that watches geographical channels or maybe Nat Geo Wild, you see the attack of the lion is strategic, right? That's not to say it makes a kill all the time that it steps out to attack. But when it has to attack, it is patient enough to strategically attack in a way that is going to have a kill. So courage is not about the enormity of strength, but it has to do with the smartness of the strategy in ensuring that result is achieved, right? So it's confidence is about the ability, the toughness to endure certain things, and also it's about the confidence of confrontation, right? That does not, the lion is such an animal that he doesn't turn back for any, right? The lion doesn't turn back for any. The lion has zero excuse when it comes to confrontation, right? So there are things that are going to happen in your life, in your business, on your career, on your job. For instance, you have a new supervisor that is tough on its standard. What that means is that if you're courageous, you are going to upgrade your standard to be able to meet the demands and the requirement of your present boss, right? So the toughness of your present boss coming in as a lion is simply to raise the bar for you, right? To toughen you. That's exactly what it means. Yeah. So that's about what courage. In a relationship, can you boldly ask questions that are not normal? Like, for instance, now somebody wants to enter into a relationship with you and you're like, what? So what is your life going to be like in 10 years time? Even though both of us don't know what 10 years time holds, but what will your life look like in 10 years? Right? Right? What will your life look like in 10 years? So you're simply questioning the vision of that particular person, what the plans of that particular person is. You know, what's the future that the person wants to embrace with you, right? It shows that you're conscious of your time, of everything that has to do with you. You're not ready to jump on the excitement of emotions, but you're ready to be able to know exactly where your energy, your resources are driving you to. You're forward thinking, right? So it takes a lot of courage to be able to ask such questions where everyone is lowering their standards to be able to get access. But you are bold enough to ask fearless questions that require a lot of thinking and commitment before you even start. You want to start right? So when you're entering into business with somebody, be bold enough to ask for your price. This is what it's going to cost you if I have to deliver this result. Pricing is not measured by the time, the quantity of time invested in it. It might be a fractional part of measurement, but then that is not the core reason for price. The core reason for price is the elasticity of solution, the accuracy of solution, and the elasticity of that solution. Accuracy of solution simply means that the solution is the actual solution required or that is meant to solve that particular problem. Now, you won't know the value of that particular solution until you know how much it will cost you without that solution. You won't appreciate the cost of a thing until you know what you have to lose if you don't pay that price. So that's about the lion, right? So when you see a person manifest, if you are careful enough to go study what the peculiar characteristics of a lion is, and you want to build it into your person, you'll be surprised, you'll be amazed at the kind of results that you are going to be able to generate at any point in time. So the next animal to talk about is the eagle, right? The eagle. Now, what do you know about the eagle? We know the eagle for is far-reaching, vision, sight. It has vision beyond sight. right? Sight is just what your eyes can see, right? But the ego possesses strategic vision, long range vision, that is able to laserly, right, ultra laser focused on a particular target miles away. It's about the long game, right? That's what ego is. The ego has the characteristics of soaring, right? Moving in the direction of the wind, the direction of the wind, to be able to soar, so that it can go higher in storm. So it has the toughness and the strategy to be able to adapt to situations and still triumph and thrive in turbulent times, right? And the ego also have a fantastic characteristic of reinvention. It's known, research shows that the ego will reinvent itself. It goes back to rebrand its strength. It undertakes reinvention. It goes back to after every 70 years, according to studies, right? I think 70 years or so, the eagle will retire back into the rocks, right? And now begin to use its beacon, its beak, right? The sharp beak, to be able to what? To remove its talons and its feathers, right? It will remove all of them for new ones to be able to grow. It regenerates. He has the capacity to reinvent himself. You can't be on a job and expect that the skills of yesterday will be able to match tomorrow's challenges. No, you are already a yesterday's person, right? You need to stay ahead of the game. You need to be to reskill and multi-skill. You need to have a very relevant skill transition program for yourself, right? In business, you don't expect that. You don't do business that is trendy. You do what you have mastered in a trendy way, right? That's the essence of business if you want to get results, right? You understand your environment. You are adapting your solution to the environment. You are not dancing before the blind, right? You are strategically positioning yourself with everything, the resourcefulness that you have, in an environment where that needs it, so that you don't chase customers chase you. That's exactly how the ego is. You are able to reinvent, recalibrate your strength, right? That's a feature. The ego is also has the capacity to take on very large projects, right? An average mature ego can pick up an elephant, a small sized elephant, right? It has that strength, that capacity, strength. One of the critical things that anybody must have, you have strength. You need mental strength, you need spiritual strength, you need psychological strength, you need physical strength. So he has that strength. The strength is there to be able to pull off something from the earth and take it right into the sky. It will go right up into the sky where that animal cannot breathe, but it can breathe. Right? So these are strategic features in some of these animals that, if we imbibe and adapt those behavioral potencies in our own reality, we can change our possibility, change our results, change everything about us. Right? So it's important that you don't, when you hear the eagle, right? Now in scriptures, we call, God is referred to as the mother eagle, right? They soar on eagle's wings. How many people can comfortably soar on your wings? Right? That in terms of when we talk about mentorship, it's one thing to be great. It's another thing to be able to recreate greatness. Mentorship is a way of recreating greatness, right? It's a way, coaching, for instance, now, what are the results of your coaching? You've gathered experience, you've gathered resourcefulness over the years and all that. But then how are you? Are you a dormant asset or a reproductive asset? as a teacher or as a coach or whatever, in whatever field that you have succeeded and you have results, are there other people that can reproduce the results that you have produced in a higher dimension? This is the reason why we have mentorship. This is the reason why we are coaches. You are able to identify the potentials of a person and be able to transform those potentials into exponential results and success, right? Those are peculiar characteristics of the eagle, right? The eagle, right? So you are an eagle, right? Because you are a higher animal, right? So you are a higher dimension, you have higher futures. You don't actually lack the capacity to bring the results that you want, but you might probably lack the commitment to be able to do that, to be able to, tap into the fullness of your capacity to deliver the kind of results that your life can actually bring to pass. Right? So let's look at the gazelle. The gazelle is an animal that is known with speed, superlative speed, right? Superlative speed. Speed is a critical factor in success, in attaining success. The speed at which you get results can give you leverage above others. And that's why we measure long distance and short distance races. Marathon and sprints are calibrated based on what speed, kind of, to an extent. Speed, you get it? So to a level, speed is very important. When you can do something faster, you can deliver a project faster than any other, but faster, cheaper, better than any other person. You find out that you will always have, you'll be top of mind consideration, right? If you're able to compress time for people, right, and increase their speed, of course, you'll be in demand, right? We're not talking about speed that is barren of result. We're talking about effective efficiency now. Effective efficiency is that you're doing the right thing in a better way and in a faster way, right? So, and that's what the digital process has come to do. It can do so much in so much time, in so little time, with little stress, right? So, and that's why technology is all encompassing and embracing to many people today. You get it? So, speed is a critical element. How fast, for instance, you're in a relationship, you want to calibrate time. You understand? That's why when there is delay can be necessary. But then some aspect of delay looks like denial to you, can be very discouraging. Probably somebody, you get married now, and then, God forbid, the person has delay in conception. It could become a very big problem. In some instances, it has triggered too much trouble that the person can't even bear. And in some other time, it has triggered enormity of patience, right? So if the person initially was not a patient person, right, is somebody that is always in a hurry, right? There's a difference between hurry and speed. Speed simply means that process has been modernized, upgraded to amplify results. Hurry simply means there is no order in it. In speed, there is order, there is process. There is only improvement in process. But in hurry, there is no process. It's a shortcut. You are trying to bypass process. You understand? Hurry has no strategy. Hurry has no patience. Hurry has no order. So the gazelle is not in a hurry. The gazelle has speed. And it's ingrained. It's a default capacity. So every one of us has a unique ability to be fast in certain areas. And the wisdom is for you to complement with people who are fast in the areas that you are slow. You understand? Who are fast in the area that you are slow, right? So that's what makes you get result. Now try to outsource your areas of difficulty to someone who has proficiency there and stay in the area of your mastery and proficiency. That way you have speed of results. Right? And that's why compatibility is important even in a relationship, compatibilities with your money. If you're just interested in getting returns on investment without thinking the security of your capital or the security of your investment, then you're going to lose the money fast. You're going to lose the money very, very fast. Very, very fast. Right? Good. So then we move to number 4, which is the serpent. Well, we know what the serpent is. It moves quietly. Moves quietly and very, very dangerous. It carries venom in it. Right? Venom in it. The venom that can kill. The venom itself is poisonous. Right? Good. So every human being has the tendency to be wicked. Yes. So it takes a lot of discipline to be able to create values that are humane, other than amplifying the tendency of being selfish and wicked. So selflessness over selfishness is what gives you giant results. So they say to be as wise as the serpent. What does it mean? That means you should have a dimension of knowledge of how wicked the human mind can go so that you can protect yourself. So the moment you know how bad a thing is, it gives you equal and opposite measure of caution not to be the victim. Right? Be as wise as a serpent. He didn't say be a serpent. He said be as wise as it is. That means you should possess an amount of knowledge and alertness that the serpent possesses, such that in the knowing of that reality, you are able to protect your own experiences and create new possibilities for yourself. If you know how bad a snake is, then when you see one, you know the caution you have to exercise in order not to be its victim. So you have to transcend its own measure of wisdom to be able to conquer it. That's what it means. So you must understand, he said, the children of this world are wiser in their own stand than the children of the kingdom. It means that the children of the kingdom must have a mastery of the operations of the children of the world in such a way that they operate a higher dimension, a higher frequency of intelligence that will collapse and contain the highest of the heights of their own wisdom. So it's a game of superiority, not a game of wickedness, right? In order to be able to deliver superior value, in the business ecosystem, there's something called benchmarking, right? There's something called benchmarking. There's espionage, right? Right? In benchmarking, what you do is that you tend to go and check the standard of operation at a particular level, the industrial standard, and retire back to be able to innovate and invent what is superior to the industrial, what is available industrially. So that's what the serpent, will mean, as wise as the serpent. That's what it illustrates, right? It doesn't mean wickedness. It doesn't mean being poisonous. It means that you understand the toxicity of an environment, that you have developed the emotional compatibility that helps you to soar and thrive in such environment beyond the toxicity of that environment, right? Now, for instance, Nigeria can be such a very tough environment. Okay, let's take, for instance, let me give you a capital example now. A capital example is a place like Lagos. Lagos is a place of opportunity as well as a place enormous with stress, right? You have a high level of stress and then you have high level of opportunity. So it takes a strategic balance, work-life balance. It takes the ability for you to be able to understand the severity of the stress to your health, and to know exactly how to map out your own kind of work, your own lifestyle, in order to be able to tap into the opportunity without being stressed. Right? That's what the serpent does. So that's why the serpent moves quietly with the hiss sound. Right? It moves quietly, silently. It moves silkily on the ground, and it have waves in its move. You haven't seen a serpent moving in a straight line. No, success itself is not linear, right? So there is the wavy nature of the serpent, right? The wavy nature of the serpent simply means the ability to understand wave. There's something called waves mentality. Waves mentality is the wave of the sea has height of its tide, and then the depth of also its tide, right? They call them synclines and anticlines, right? And that's about turbulent times, the ability for you to have all season prosperity, not have peak seasons and then low seasons, right? When you have peak seasons and low seasons, right, that means you have fluctuating reality of prosperity, right? So that's what the serpent. These are life lessons that can help us calibrate our results and help us feature in our future with wisdom, a measure of wisdom. Like scripture says, wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of your time. Can you see that now? So beyond knowledge is wisdom. It is understanding of information, understanding and interpretation of information that brings you to the dimension of insight. It is when action is taken on decision that we can measure your insight and we can determine the value of your wisdom. Right. So that's about being a serpent, checking the features of a serpent. So let's look at the whale. The whale. The whale is such a massive animal now under the sea. Now, that talks about the power and the wealth of foundations. It talks about the depth and the density of the deep. Now, you see, surface thinking can give you premium results. In life, surface reality is a fraction of, or a report sheet. I'll say the reward. Whatever you see on the surface is simply a report card of the density of that foundation, of the depth. So it said heights are controlled, every height has correspondent depth, right? So you need deep knowledge for you to be able to control exponential results. That's what it means. Now, land is only about 30% of the earth. We learned that the earth is 70% water. And that's why if you see the white whale, for instance, what a massive being underwater that you can't see. So what we see and what we experience is a function of deposits. We draw from our deposits in order for us to be able to match opportunities, to match reality. Is a function of our preparation. Your preparation must be solid and deep enough for you to be able to control the kind of experience that you have envisaged or imagined. You can't afford to practice the way somebody that wants to run within the streets and somebody that wants to run in Olympics. No. The dimensions of practice must be different. Your own measure of practices must be deeper than that person, right? We know very well, there was this guy that I love his story so much, Michael Phelps. Michael Phelps was somebody that was deep enough to compete with his former results, not the world record. The world record was not his standard, even though he broke world record, right? When he broke world record, the world record ceased to be his standard. His standard was beating his former best, right? That he wanted to see his ideal potential, right? So that's how deep he was. I remember there was one of his training with his coaches that they had a very deep conversation in the sense that what are the challenges? They began to do what we call eventuality preparation against winning, right? They said, what are the possibilities? What are the possible challenges that could stop you from beating your old record while swimming? That was in swimming then. And he said, when water is in your goggles, right, it makes it a little bit difficult for you to be able to pace the way you're supposed to pace. So they began to do what? Practice against that particular reality. So he intentionally filled his goggles with water and began to swim the pace with time, right? across the length of what the pool, right? The size of the Olympic pool, and they put water in his glasses and began. So what happened was that he developed a strategy by counting the strides, how many strides he has to make at what pace to get to the winning point. So that way he changed the momentum of his speed. That way. So you can see now. So that's how massive his preparation was. That's how massive his preparation was. So that's like a whale. The whale is such a massive animal underwater that it doesn't really mind exactly what the water is, but it's such a being underwater. No, I believe that the energy of the submarine came, or the idea or the invention of the submarine came from the idea of the whale, right? If you see the whale underwater, you think of the submarine. You know how a submarine is a warship underwater, a massive warship underwater. That's the same technology behind the life of the whale underwater. So if you have seen anything on land, that's surface reality. When you go underwater, you know it's an entirely new community and a massive community that is yet to be properly explored. When you see the whale come out of the water, imagine, we use it as tourism reflections. But then for me, it's a huge communication that he gives. You understand? So that's how it is. So that's how it's so the whale talks about depth, talks about deep reality, talks about going beyond surface reality. You might just see the head of a whale if you are opportune to be able to spy into the mass below water. Then it's something to be afraid of. So when you see somebody in preparation, you'll be afraid of that person than somebody that you see shining today. Somebody that you see shining is exhausting. He probably exhausted his training and needs to go and retrain to beat what you see. But somebody in preparation, you cannot predict his possibilities. So, and if we take it back to scriptures now, scripture records that Jesus Christ lived for 33 and a half years, right? But his preparation was 90% of his life. And he used 10% of his life to be able to accomplish feats that the entirety of humanity will not be able to catch up with. His results were so stellar that you can't, he said, the way scripture describes is that what? If everything that he did were to be captured in writing, right, it is going to contain books that the world cannot contain. It had to be abbreviated in that, summarized in that form, because it's beyond the mind of man. But this was achieved in 3.5 years with a 30 years preparation. So you can see it. So if you are going to ever achieve stellar results, then your life must be 90% of preparation compared to. So it only goes a long way to tell us that you have to be 90% prepared for 10% manifestation. That's what it means. So let's go to the sixth animal, right? We've been talking about lessons from the life of animals that can help us trigger our success and our results. So we look at the giraffe. Now, the giraffe. The giraffe is peculiar with a long neck. All these animals are peculiar, right? That's the same way all human beings are peculiar. No two human beings are the same. Every one of us came with a default capacity that is unique in every, and that's your own signet of wealth. That's your own signet of fulfillment and achievement and accomplishment, whatever it is that you want to call it. So we are all unique, distinct in everything that we do. Right? So we have the giraffe. Now, the giraffe is an animal unique with the length of its neck. Right? So most of the time they say the head is like leadership, the neck is like management. You've got to have long range management capacity, very long range management capacity. You must be equipped enough, empowered enough to be able to have long range plan, long range ability, endurance, tenacity that is long range. The size of the neck of the giraffe gives its height beyond every other person. They may not be as big, it may not be as big as any other animal, but it is taller than every other animal that is bigger than it. That's about the ability to play the long game, the infinity kind of what ability, infinite game, right? Yes. Simon Sinek talks about the infinite game. Yeah, the infinite game, right? Finite game has to do with that you are limited. People can predict you. But when we talk about infinite game, is that you are so conscious enough to rebrand yourself to go and relaunch and go beyond where you have been, right? You're slow enough to understand the extent to which your last shot can go, and then you can pull back in order to be able to go further, right? So that's about the giraffe. Its neck is long. You find giraffe will stay and its neck can go beyond the pole and pick something. But the bad and the sad part of it is that every time the neck or the head of a giraffe is bent or is in the ground, what happens? Just like the ostrich, right? It shares similar characteristics with the ostrich. When the head is down, its life is gone. So you can see in anything you're doing at all, if the management goes down, that thing goes down. Nothing can stay alive without management. So sustainability, profitability, elasticity of anything, legacy of anything is in management. So do you have long-term management capacity, long range? If you have that ability, it doesn't matter at home as a father, that's how you have to be, right? You've got to be able to stretch beyond everybody, right? In order for you to actually be the lead, you've got to be able to stretch. And that's why leaders are always tailored with vision, right? You have a vision, you can see what others can't see. That's the advantage of the neck. And that's why in exams now, you find students, they say, he's giraffing. That's because he has the capacity to spy into what you are celebrating and covering, right? So to see beyond the times, right? Have understanding of the times so that you can be ahead of your contemporaries, right? And the last but not the least, let me compartmentalize this. They share the same characteristics and in one dimension or the other. The chameleon, the tortoise, and the snail. Now, the snail is slow, but it carries so much, right? And probably it's because of the weight of what it carries that is slow. Now, you find some people, they don't have speed because of the enormity of what they carry. If you have a fantastic life, you will not be, it's only things that have contents in them that don't make noise. But empty barrels will be making noise like that. So if you are big, you don't have to announce that you are big. You understand? It is, the result that will show that you are big. It's not your noise. Your noise is not news until your news start making noise. You understand? So that's exactly how the nature of the snail is. It's slow, but it's steady. And the shell that is carried never falls off its back. Never. Now, if we talk about the tortoise now, the tortoise is such an animal that could be slow, but is covered, is totally secured by its shell. So what is the level of security that you have over what you possess, what is treasurable, what is precious to you? What's the level of security you have over your health, over your wealth, over your community, over your surrounding? If anything happens, the tortoise will just go back into its shell, just like the snail. The snail will go back into its shell too. The shell is that protection around it. What is your prosperity if there's no security around it? It's meaningless, right? So the fun of a bride is its ability to be able to withstand the tough days that are ahead, right? So love is not an excitement over a feeling. No, love is firmly tested in the moments that the feelings have expired. That's exactly it. So you can get married or fall in love with somebody, but you don't know the challenges that are ahead of that person. In fact, the weight of your love is the ability to carry the challenges that are ahead of them. So, and that's why it's not a game of emotion, it's a game of commitment. Commitment simply means that good or bad will come along. All right? Are we together? So good. So even in business, it's like that. What's your protective cover? What's your security? That's why you look for experienced, higher people that have already been trained and not quacks. Right? If you look at quacks, no matter how fantastic that business is, they will shut it down. Right? So your expertise, your training, your tools, very important. They control your transactions. Right? So, and then we have the camel, the chameleon, right? Now the camel is another animal I would have loved to talk about because it has endurance, right? It can store water in the desert, right? Like that. It can go long distance in the desert without water, where human beings can't go that far, but the camel can go that far. It can endure, that drought because its nature has a method of conserving water to go through that desert. So do you have the ability to save, to preserve your treasures until when they are needed beyond what others could do? Endurance. One of the things that made the woman with the issue of blood to be able to secure her freedom and liberty was the fact that she could endure the trying times to be able to get her results, right? She pressed through the crowd, she was bleeding and going through the pain, whatever it is that was good enough to be able to attack all her bank accounts and liquidate her bank account. Then that thing is powerful enough to take her life. Her sickness emptied her bank account. So while she was passing through the pain, she said, "Oh, if you claim my money, I won't allow you to claim my life." But there's a possibility of a solution there. So she endured, just the same way Jesus Christ endured the cross, because he saw the glory that was ahead of him. So it's like that. So that's the nature of the camel. You just see the camel like that. What are life lessons that you're learning from that particular camel, right? Then lastly, it's the chameleon. The chameleon has flexibility and adaptability, basically compatibility. And that's like the origin of everything that I teach, right? My scope and scripts of success has to do with compatibility majorly, right? Because when you are in a compatible environment, you don't struggle to shine, right? So that means you're good in teaching and you find yourself in the classroom. You're just like a fish in water, right? So your habitat has to have compatibility with what your nature is. What makes the fish is not just water, it is ability to swim, right? If the fish cannot swim, water can't be a comfortable habitat for it. That's about the chameleon. So the chameleon gets into an environment and has the capacity, the default capacity to be able to change its color to suit that environment. So you can walk anywhere. You can walk in Nigeria, walk anywhere. So your resourcefulness must be such like that, right? Must be compatible, right? You must have cross-country abilities, cross-border abilities, cross-border skills, right? You are not just a graduate here in Nigeria or in a developed country or whichever country that you are in, but you are a graduate that can measure up, has global competitiveness. That's you're globally competitive. That's exactly what it means. You are globally competitive. That's what it means. Globally competitive, right? So that's what the chameleon is. So there are quite a number of animals, and that's why you find out that there are certain drugs in the pharmaceutical field that they have to use animals that share the typology of the human system to test the drugs before humans do it. So they do their stress test with animals, but because we are higher animals, from the statistics and the deductions from those likely lower animals, they can infer what the extent of damage and effect will be on the normal human being. So you can see results are very important in giving existential value to our being, at the same time giving fulfillment to us as human beings. But then are there lessons that we can learn from animals? And that is what I've shared with you today. So getting results is not rocket science, right? Though difficult and tough. But if we can look around, if we can look inward, look around and look up, then we can create opportunities, we can convert opportunities, we can attract and invite a measure of possibilities for ourselves, whether in our life, whether in our business, whether with our money, whether with our career. So you can see different realms and dimensions of principles and concepts from the features and the lifestyle of these animals that can be adapted into our own human behavior and change our results. Now, because we are higher animals, if it worked in their own realm, then there is the possibility, a high dimension of possibility, that when you adopt this, you would even go. In fact, if you move it down, move it round and round, you find there's a similar characteristics, just that some things that they can do publicly because they are lower resolution thinking beings, we cannot do them publicly. And there are other things that people will do publicly as human beings that they will look at you and call you an animal. So you have all animals are in human form, and humans also operate in animal forms. It's just a strategic frame of thinking that can help you adapt the nature of creature to to create new possibilities and experience for yourself. So it's been a very long sharing, and I believe that this if you sit back and watch this over again, I can tell you for sure that you sit back and look at them, it can help you to edit and audit yourself and look at those animals critically. We didn't even go to talking about the ants, but maybe in subsequent videos I'll talk about the ants, right? The ant is such a marvelous creature, right? The ant, the locust, the spider. These guys contain these things. There's nothing God has created, or there's nothing that is in existence now that doesn't carry a measure of lesson for human living. But we are not observant enough. We are too noisy, we are too busy that we can't take lessons from these things. But if we will study them and take lessons from them, all robots are built from animals. The aeroplane is a type of eagle, right? The aeroplane is a type of eagle. The wisdom is from the wisdom of the eagle. Cars were created from studying horses. So science itself is a study of nature to create solution for human existence. So science is not anything, out of the blues. And that's why they are humble enough to call all the machines AI, artificial intelligence. So there is a natural intelligence that creates the artificial intelligence. But shocking enough, some of the artificial intelligence now beat human intelligence, not the natural intelligence, the intelligence of the human, but then maybe human capacities and commitment, right? Right. It's they no matter how sophisticated an AI is, it is still a lower resolution of human potential, because it's the human mind that creates the machine, right? Right now, I know there are quite a number of softwares and apps that are being developed now that the measure of result that they create is stellar to the human mind. But then, if you as a human being allow a machine to replace you, then you have not done, you still need to revisit back your thinking. You need to revisit back the way you think. The machines can't replace man, because man creates the machine. So, and they are artificial at whatever level which they get. Even though they can run faster than you, you are the one that determine their speed. You are the one that it's a man that put the metrics in them, because they don't have a soul. A machine doesn't have a soul, so it doesn't suffer fatigue. Right? That's the difference between machine and man. Man has a soul, so it can be fatigued. The machine doesn't have a soul, so it cannot be fatigued. That's why it can afford to take massive amount of data and can work 24 hours without, and even 24 hours it needs maintenance, or else it will shut down. So no matter what you heap on a machine, the day it's shut down, everything is gone, if you don't have a retrieval process. But you see, a man can go down, can determine whether he wants to remain down or he wants to change his level. So, a lot of value has been communicated, and I hope that you make the best of this value. And if you have gotten any value at all from this video, I'd like you to put it in the comment box, and then subscribe to this channel, and then you can always get more value from this. So my name remains Julius Folabi, and I'll see you again. I help basically high net worth individuals, coaches, consultants, managers, and leaders to develop business solutions that are locally compatible and globally competitive. Right? So I'm driven by values, basically. Values. And as a result architect and a quality improvement analyst, I measure basically in helping you get what? Results. Right? Results. So, from me to you, thank you, and God bless you.